Hi. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you for your interest in space. I think there was a session about space already yesterday. I'm talking a little bit more from a perspective of not a new space company, not a startup, but from corporate perspective. And usually it's the hardest task to get into a good start into a keynote, especially if you're talking about stuff that you are not really trained in. For me as a political scientist and not an engineer who tries to convince tech people like you that I really know what I'm talking about. Therefore, I'm taking the easy entry, more with the philosophical questions, because mankind has not has not found the answers on these three questions on Earth. And I think that mankind will be curious to find out where we come from, where do we go, and are we alone? And therefore, and also we have really tried to find out here, the answer might be in outer space, and therefore this is what happens in space. Space is getting crowded. Most of the people are discussing more the problems of what we are seeing here. It's space debris, it's maybe you cannot see, it's the dominance of Starlink satellites, but there's also a positive lookout on a crowded space, and this is that every satellite that you see here has its very own purpose, because it's too complex, it's way too expensive to send something out there, except for one Tesla that has not really a key for someone, if it's to understand climate exchange, if it's to understand what's happening on planet Earth, or maybe it's to protect our soldiers, and or maybe to grow a business, maybe to foster economy, maybe to do something in space that helps us here on Earth. And that's why I think this is one of the most crowded tech parties ever. And it's nice to be there, but if you want to join the party, you have to be able to get there. And that's not so easy. If you're working in the space branch, the discussion about access to space is very dominant. It's on the one hand side because launchers are very political. I don't want to talk about politics, but I think the obvious thing is that rockets are not only used to go to space, but you can do something with rockets on Earth that makes it a political debate. Access to space also means spaceports. But one thing is, it looks easy, but it isn't. So going to space, building a rocket is very complex. It takes you much longer than it looks. And therefore, it's good that we have learned space is hard, but you may be able to find a solution. So I'm showing you a video of Rocket Factory Augsburg. They have tested in Saxaford last year their first stage, and as you see, the test was successful. They were not yet ready to go to space. They have learned a lot out of this. We have been witnessing the first test flight of ESA Aerospace a few weeks ago. This was also for them a big success. Daniel Metzler, I met him yesterday. He told me again they have learned a lot more about the rocket within the first test flight than they have ever expected. But this shows it's not so easy, and therefore it's good that we try it. We have to be patient, and we maybe have to try it many times. But don't ever forget that this is taking the frontier. The final frontier is always physics, and physics is a partner in a discussion group that is not easy to convince. So space is hard, but you should never give up. So this is a picture you see here. It's Elon. Picture was taken by Hans Königsmann, and he told me on his side was Bülent Altan, who's somewhere here. So this is the result of the second test flight of Falcon 1. And they told me they have learned a lot out of this. And they also told me it was never the idea of giving up. Maybe they discussed we have to give up because we may have not more money, but to take the technical challenge it never gave up. Yes, because you might be successful. But this is Falcon 9. It's today the most successful, reliable, and high-performance launcher all over the world. And this is how it looks inside Falcon 9. So it is very crowdy. It is very crowdy as it is in space. I want to tell you a little bit more about the queen sitting on the top. It's called the cake topper. So the satellite that sits on the top of the rocket is always very special. This is NMAP. NMAP is the first ever built German environmental satellite. And I'm showing you something that I'm not really allowed to show. It's kind of an internal video, so please don't tell everybody. I don't want to go to jail. But this is a video how NMAP is released into the orbit from the fairing of the Falcon 9 rocket. So this is for a satellite manufacturer a very special moment, seeing, okay, so now the next phase is especially for high-resolution optical satellites, very important to make sure it's going to work. And so this is NMAP in an artist view in space. And this is the result of what is happening if you make it into space and if you made it to a very long and hard phase of the project. So this is the first picture. It's the Bosporus area. On the left side, we have a usual picture. The middle is infrared, and this shows us about the infrared is, sorry, I have to check that I'm not, the differences in the vegetation, different plant species and their conditions, and short wave infrared is giving us some information about the soil. So this is what you see when you look from space with a hyperspectral camera, and I think it's quite impressive what we can learn only looking at these three pictures about the surface of the Earth. But it's not only that we need to have space applications to learn something about Earth and to have nice pictures. We have to see and we have to learn what is out there. Because in developing new technologies to go into outer space, we have a big spin into technologies that we use on Earth. We need space to see and to learn what is out there. For example, if we are going back to the moon, we have to develop technologies not only to land on the moon, but to start again from the moon. It's better to not stay there forever. And I'm pretty sure that we will learn a lot out of this once we have done this, also for maybe stuff like how to deal with moon dust, which is not as romantic as it sounds. It's a very tricky environment. And yeah, everything that we learn in space might improve our life on Earth. And therefore, it is not only for us as a technical branch, but it's also to convince young people to go into engineering, to learn a little bit more on how deep can tech really help us to understand what is out there. Because if we do not explore what is out there, we will never be able to really understand our own planet. And I think this is still one of the great tasks that we have the great challenges that we have to manage. And therefore, it's good that we can make money out of this. Because it's now, the time is over that we leave space and space exploration to governments and institutions and agencies only. Because everybody here knows that having industry, having private economy, having private stakeholders in the deep tech is giving a total different view on the challenges. And it is always better, from my perspective, if you have also the competition, not only between institutions, but the competition with different stakeholders. So I think it's now time to invest in space, because investing in space now means that you will be able not only to see what it's not only investing in maybe startups, which is good, but also really invest in space, especially for Germany. We have not so many resources in here. We have to invest in our mines. We have to make sure that we preserve Europe as a high-tech, good environment for high-tech, and therefore space is the best thing to do, from my perspective. And yes, we must try new things. I'm totally convinced we must be courageous and we must be curious and we have to try new things. We have to take the risk that maybe we fail, but once we fail, and I think failure is a very hard word, but if you fail, the best thing is to try again. I think the idiot is who's trying it again with changing nothing, but once you have made an attempt that might not be as successful as it could be on the first side, next time you learn something else. And therefore, I would be very happy if everybody here steps out of that session and have learned something about space that he or she has not known before. We have to be brave. We have to take our risks, because I'm totally convinced if it's not for space and for space entrepreneurs and for space geeks to say it is risky to go into space, we have to manage that anyway. And therefore, it's now the time to be a little bit more positive for our future, take some more risks, and yes, then we will be successful. Thanks for supporting space. Thank you very much.